So that's, some voting in Venezuela. Yeah, or rather like no voting in Venezuela. So they had some elections. But interestingly, there were a lot of people who came out to vote against Maduro. And Maduro's like, no, I've already won. He's like already out there trying to say, no, I won. You really didn't. It's under question. And then, of course, like China wasted no time. Oh, yes, we're going to further strengthen our relations with Venezuela. Maduro says he's won another term. We agree with Maduro. We're going to continue working on our relations with you. They're so snotty. They're so, you knew that they were going to immediately come right out and not even pay any heed to what the opposition was saying, or the, videos like the one we just played where people were being locked out of polling stations. Welcome back to the program. Dana Loesch with you, joining us now. We're so happy to be back with him. He's been traveling. We were traveling, and then all craziness broke loose in the news cycle. Our good friend Stephen Yates, you can find him at Yates.com, and he is Senior Fellow at America First Policy Initiative, and he's chair of the China Policy Initiative as well. He joins us via Skype. So Venezuela had their elections, and from what I saw, I think China was like first out of the gate saying, oh, congratulations. Yes, Maduro, we can't wait to work with you some more. So that made me also think that he didn't win. In addition to the opposition saying that they got more votes than him, China immediately coming out and saying, yes, congratulations, immediately made me think he also didn't win, Steve.
Well, there's several things about this that I don't like. First, yay, another day in paradise. I thought that was a perfect segment there to let people know what a wonderful utopian society they've got going on down there. But number one, we're all jaded about polls and exit polling, but you go into a contest and someone's up by 35%, and then and then the other guy ends up winning by like 25%. Obviously something's not right there.
Yeah.
So this is one of those things where, I'm sure this was a super clean and orderly, well-observed process. And the other thing I don't like about it is that the U.S. government right off the bat is sort of saying, we look forward to engaging and working toward a day when democracy will improve in Venezuela. I'm like, my goodness. What an absolute lost set of souls these must be. I mean, we don't need to go in and occupy this country, but we shouldn't be engaging in international make-believe. And our friends in the region can see with their own eyes and hear with their own ears. And so we're doing to the region what the left has been trying to do to us domestically, to just falsify everything that we know. And so we're left with my new favorite Western Hemisphere leader, Milei, saying, no, I'm not going to accept this outcome. This was a complete fabrication. And by the way, their system sucks, and so we're not going to deal with them that way. And so, my goodness, if we could have 10% of Milei, then America has got hope for a future in this hemisphere.
And I love, and that's, of course, he's talking about Javier Milei, who's the Argentina's head. I love that he came out and said, no, this is the opposition. They won. This Maduro loser lost. And I love that so you have Argentina countering China in this. And I don't want China to get we've talked about this before. I don't want them to get a greater foothold here, but I don't put it past them helping to like finance or in any way that they can help to weaponize anything on behalf of Maduro down there.
No, of course, it's an easy layup for them to do. But I mean, you're the Venezuelans. So who's next? Little Rocket Man coming through to endorse your victory?
No, he's on it. They're putting him on a diet. The lunchbox down there in North Korea, the South Korea spy agency said they're looking for obesity medicines because apparently a diet isn't one of them.
Oh, my goodness. Well, he does, I think, have a higher percentage win than even Xi Jinping got. And they both left Maduro in the dust when it came to the high percentage election wins in their democratic processes. But it's a sad day when this is kind of the political warfare we're dealing with. And if we had a government that was paying attention and basically doing simple things in the District of Columbia, then we would have an effective counter to this. And as I mentioned, and you did too, I mean, we have allies who can speak the truth. Why not just support them?
million-dollar question. Why not? I mean, that seems to make sense. You know, you're talking about elections, obviously the one that we're gearing up for here in November, as the new nominee for president for Democrat, well, not officially yet, Democrat side, is searching for a VP. One of the names that's been thrown up is Senator Mark Kelly, but he's got a little bit of baggage. I mean, if we're talking about foreign policy and national security, he apparently started, and we had those spy balloons, those little spy balloons that were floating around, a year ago, not even a year ago. So he apparently started an actual literal spy balloon company, and it was funded by the communist Chinese. The former astronaut who's been in U.S. Senate in Arizona since 2020. I knew that I thought originally he was an investor, but it goes way deeper than that. Like he actually created the company. Like he co-founded the company and worked with a communist Chinese venture capitalist, as much as you can venture in the communist country. That seems to be a major, major problem, especially in this, political form, this geopolitical environment. For him to be considered a VP candidate, and he seems to be like one of the top picks right now. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I'm not a fan of those that do business with the big China. And so I want to make sure that there's some intense vetting for these kinds of candidates. But, we have the least vetted presidential nominee in history who's going to have a short period of time to vet these other candidates. And I assume she's looking for someone who's going to have to be boring because you got to make sure that the VP is not upstaging the president. And so, with the senator from Arizona, you'd think, well, Arizona's in play. I don't know. This time around, maybe less so than in 2016. But I hear from a lot of friends and family that I have not been able to convert to common sense that they like him. He seems to be the talk of the town right now as the running mate.
Wow.
The ties to China are a problem, but newsflash, a White House with ties to China sounds like continuity, not change.
That's actually a really good point. I mean, you're going from the Bidens and making all that money with CEFC and then now going to this. There is a summit that began today where you have a number of lawmakers from 35 different countries, as you know, concerned about, democracy and Beijing. And they're meeting apparently in Taiwan. But of course, Beijing has been pressuring lawmakers from at least 6 countries to not attend the summit in Taiwan because they're personally offended that Taiwan is going through the summit because they view Taiwan as part of their territory, where Taiwan says not really, and so do the facts. But I digress. I kind of wanted to get your thoughts on this because they're looking at Bolivia, Colombia, Slovakia, North Macedonia, and Bosnia. And there's another Asian country. They say they've been getting text bombed, flurries of calls and demands for meetings that would tie up all of their time so they couldn't go to Taipei for the summit. I'm not surprised, but are they going to fold?
Well, this just holds up the old axiom that there's nothing quite so vicious as these forms of politics because the stakes are so low. And so you'd think that going to some meeting where you're going to get a bunch of people jawboning about democracy, it's not like that alone spreads democracy. I mean, good for them for being on the right side of the discussion table, but it's not like world events have been shaped by convening international conferences. And yet this is what Beijing wants to fight. And yes, they do put out their bot armies, their spam armies, their text message armies, and even some actual human beings to harass people and waste their time so that you can't go to Fantasy Island and talk about voting for your leaders and holding them accountable. Terrible things that can happen when people get together and talk about having verifiable elections. Going to an island where they have between 12 and 15 million people vote in person with ID on a paper ballot. All the ballots counted by 8:30, 9 p.m. latest. No disputes on the outcome. What a horrible thing for people to see.
Yeah, I completely agree. I wanted to ask you one last story. This has to do with Japan and the United States. I love how they act. I was reading this piece and I'm like, it's the United States and Japan merely responding. Not everything is a swipe. It says U.S. Japan take a swipe at China and deepen defense ties. They issued scathing verbal attacks on China and Russia after high-level discussions. This is over the weekend. The close defense collaboration between Tokyo and Washington, which I'm happy to see. But they were objecting to China's unlawful maritime claims in the South Sea, et cetera, et cetera. And then Russia's just nothing more than their second banana at this point. They're a vassal state of China. So I don't know, it's not even an alliance at this point. But I'm happy to see the closeness of the relationship between the U.S. and Japan, but I don't know why. I mean, it's not a swipe. They're trying to make it, to me, it sounds like they're trying to make it more aggressive than it is. They're just, U.S. and Japan are just merely holding the line. That's it. It's not any more aggression than what it is, just that.
Well, it's kind of what we would expect. I mean, after all, China and Russia were using their jet fighters to buzz Alaskan airspace not that long ago. And lo and behold, the U.S. and Japan are in this super new thing called an alliance. It's only been around since the end of World War II. And so, alliances are going to get together and deepen defense ties. There's a shocker for you. And so, congratulations to Beijing for getting on the high horse and jawboning about alliances doing alliance things. And frankly, I'm all for the U.S. and Japan making their hair curl even more. So maybe get together and have another exercise just to keep the ink flowing in Beijing as they do this.
They need to have some "We Love Taiwan" merch. Just like put out some of the hats and T-shirts. Like, hey, it'd be fun to see.
I still want the Winnie the Pooh balloon brigade to Winnie the Pooh just float into China, 1,000 balloons at a time, randomly. That'd be a great alliance contribution to peace.
I can't. You know what? I can't. You're right. Why haven't we done that kind of balloon? Like they send spy balloons, we send Pooh balloons. Winnie the Pooh.
I know. I mean, it works on every level. How it sounds and how it looks. It's over to you, Beijing.
It's easy to press their buttons. Super easy. Stephen Yates, our very good friend. Make sure you follow him at YatesComms. He has always great insight on all these issues. My good friend, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.